X-Men. Sabertooth. Tyler, Maine. A translucent, self-sticking, silicone gel forehead appliance and spectacular hair thanks to Donna Glidden. This is Ted Gervan's drawings of Tyler as Sabertooth. His claws needed to withstand serious punishment, be safe, and not disfigure under normal pressure. So they had to be urethane, which meant his fingers also needed to be urethane. Each claw cupped over the tip of the finger, holding it securely in place. His gloves held the whole thing together while allowing the fingers to move freely. They lasted the film. Stunts wore the same gloves. Snow. Zeiss is a particle that absorbs water, appearing to crystallize like snow, while becoming sticky enough to stay where you put it, like clothes or hair. Ice is a clear water-soluble gel from Ultra Materials that stays clear and is dense enough to form and stay where you put it, even in volumes like this. Hair. All things hair belong to Donna Glidden in our studio, a master wig maker, stylist, and great friend. Her first job with Tyler this day was to flatten his hair where the prosthetic will lie. She used a water-soluble gel called Gaffquat. If I was to do it again, I'd give him a partial bald cap for a better bond to the prosthetic. Where the prosthetic is bonded to the skin will not sweat, and the prosthetic will stay put. But if there is a space between the prosthetic and the skin, created by something like hair, the skin will sweat into that space. There was a time we didn't believe there was such a thing as skin not sweating. It is every prosthetic artist's nightmare. Morning after alcohol sweat the worst. But from our experience, if there was no physical space between the skin and the prosthetic for the body to sweat into, it doesn't. Good thing, too, because otherwise our prosthetics would suffer from the same maladies as any other film prosthetic. But they don't. While Donna pin curls Tyler's hair, she is also creating a base into which she will anchor her wig. Notice how she leaves the bottom free to brush into the wig later. As Donna built all his facial hair appliances, she knows precisely where each goes and what Tyler's own facial hair has to look like to make it all work together. He got the same shave every day. Evan Penny's first forehead sculpt had an extension over the nose. We saw that as dangerous, so he removed it. The prosthetic was self-sticking, its eyebrows were punched and sealed on the back. Jay McLennan puts it on. He fabricated the appliance in his hands. He knows precisely where it fits. His eyebrows were left to be cut and shaped on the day. It's pretty much on right now. It's not going anywhere. He checks that the edges are all ready to be glued. Where the appliance met the skin, it was translucent enough to take on the color under it, helping its transition. They don't need much glue, they're just wetting the edges, that once glued down will disappear into the skin, if the prosthetic has been made right, which we know it has, or we wouldn't be using it. Once in place, it was a matter of gluing down the edges. No filler and masking materials. All that work has been done in the sculpt, the mold, and the fabrication of the appliance. Artist Ted Graven is the pair of hands on the left. From a color point of view, you can see that we have chosen the lightest tones of his own skin for the prosthetic. All the darker tones we can add topically. We use premier product color palettes with 99% alcohol, for thin washes of color stippled over the surface with smashed brushes. As well as tinting the prosthetic, we are also highlighting the fine three-dimensional details on the surface, the pore structure. If intrinsic color seems to be too difficult to learn, then may I suggest what I use to teach it: ice. The same ice we used on Tyler. It is safe, clear, and three-dimensional. No need for silicone or vacuuming. Some dry makeup pigment, flocking, water, stir sticks, mixing cups and a couple of arms to match color to, and it shouldn't take you more than a few days to understand intrinsic coloration. Mastering it, of course, depends on who you are. But once understood, it applies to any clear or translucent material in a world of creative possibilities beyond matching skin color. Now you are working with light. Donna's back, and all I can say is watch this. Amazing. Donna built her wigs on the form that obviously included the sculpt. Again, she knows where it sits. Remember the pin curls of Tyler's own hair? That is where Donna is anchoring the wig. Remember the hair left loose at the base of his skull? That too is now combed into the wig. She glues the lace front down the same way any wig lace is glued down, and it disappears just as well as on skin. Maybe better in that there is no grease from the skin or sweat to affect the glue. Sabertooth's chops pulled all the bits and pieces together. You can see how Donna's early clipper cut on Taylor now works with her appliances. Watch how that curl at the ear ties perfectly into the wig. I still have all Sabertooth's prosthetics. I do so. His teeth were veneers that fit his own. We had cat's eyes for Taylor, but black gave him the evil the character needed. Medically speaking, like Rebecca Ronjaman, Tyler should not have had lenses in his eyes at all. An optometrist on set doing that work was the only way I agreed to even try. I miss my studio. This is the Rhino Lounge, our lunchroom, because of the rhino from Legends of the Fall over the bar. My office was up the stairs, where you can see my bulletin board during X-Men 1. Senator Kelly had a shot transforming from a clear jellyfish-like creature to Bruce Davidson as he erupts from deep under the water. 4 passes, Bruce and 3 sculpts, transforming one into the other. Jim Gawley built a rig for under the water to travel the same path and speed every time. It got cut to 1 figure and no Bruce. On the day, the water wasn't deep enough to hide the rig. Traveling down our loading bay, we meet Evan Penny working on that figure with a bust of Bruce Davidson as a reference. A bust we made from this head cast. I just have the back plaster bandage mother mold going on, but it's an important part to get right. It sets our seam walls, ensuring both sides of the plaster mold will separate cleanly. Three things interesting in our work environment. A hydraulic dental chair to bring the subject up or down to our working level in comfort. Light is provided by skylights alone. I have large mirrors on both walls to see in a glance different points of view. A very handy tool when working in 3 dimensions. Bruce Davidson's final silicone bust's job on screen was to squeeze between 2 metal bars 2 inches apart with my hand inside it. The outer membrane of his skin moved over a thickness of softer gel laid up into the muscle and fatty areas of his face, then backed with a firmer silicone to hold the form, and laminated into one. We pushed him through the bars 16 times. Between shots, we combed his hair. CG only had to fix where his eyes were looking. These photographs were taken years later. The Benjamin Button series documents both silicone head casting and an exploration into approaches to translucent silicone gel prosthetic fabrication outside of even our box. To learn more, enjoy my candid autobiography. 2 volumes. It's available on Amazon and Kindle. Be safe.